carved it out with blood. They carved it out with tears and bones. They carved it out with murder. And they will be honored as long as Who Did You Boycott is living. I don't know about anyone else, because a lot of you folks are running around here making room titles called That's a Sick Negro. That's a sick Negro. When 6 months ago, you folks weren't even saying the word Negro. You were ashamed to say the word Negro. Now, all you folks don't ran around here and started calling, anytime you call somebody a coon, they're a Negro. Anytime you call them a sellout, they're a Negro. But 6 months ago, they were black. Wasn't they? Wasn't they black? Now, all of a sudden, they became a Negro. All those sellouts and coons and gatekeepers in the Congressional Black Caucus, all of a sudden, they are Negroes. They were black all the time before. Now, all of a sudden, they all Negroes. How? What about that? What about that? I seen that recent room with that guy, I don't know his name, who said, had the title, Sick Negro. And then that person by the name of Misinformation Ranger, all you folks got it on the end of your tongue. Yeah, you can't say it enough now. I guess my broadcast is starting to hit home. It's starting to hit home because I'm going to keep on hammering it until I die. So you best pray that I die, because I'm going to keep on hammering it. That's the only hope that you have, is that Who Did You Boycott die? Because I'm not going to stop honoring the Negroes. I'm not going to stop honoring and respecting the sacrifice and the achievement of the Negro, because the Negro came first. It came first. It came first, and what came first can never be replaced. Y'all want to replace it so bad? You want to replace it with Black American. You want to replace it with African American. You want to replace it with Freeman. And you want to replace it with ADOS. And you want to replace it with FBA. God will let you burn in hell before that happens. I'm here to let you know, for all you folks with the delusion that you're going to replace Negro with these other classifications or made up terms that came after the 1900s, do you really think God is going to let you get away with that? No, God got a seat waiting on you in hell. God got a seat waiting for each one of you in hell. I'm just here to let you know that. I'm the messenger. God got a seat waiting on you. Don't think that you're not gonna be sitting in that seat burning in hell before God lets you try to steal 246 years of Negro sacrifice and put it up under any of these other terms. God will see you burn in hell, like I told that lady by the name of Sway Me, and Mark King Carter, and Denmark, and all you Freeman person. Y'all got a seat waiting on you in hell. God waiting on you. God told me to let you know that. God is waiting on you. Don't know when that time is going to be up for you, but God is waiting on you. I don't know how you folks live in that delusional world. Y'all really think that God is going to let you get away with that. Don't you see what God is doing to America for the harm that they've done to the Negroes for 246 years? You would think that you wouldn't want to walk down that same path with them. You would think that some of you would be able to make that correction and not repeat the same mistake and evil that America has inflicted for over 400 years. You would think that some of you would sit down and really think long and hard before you run around here trying to replace the history and the ethnicity and each one of those Negroes that walked around the earth for the number of years that they lived. They walked on two legs just like me and you. They walked on two legs and they walked the face of the earth. And their life don't deserve to be replaced with terms or classifications that came later. Do you think that's fair? Do any of you think that's fair? Because I don't think it's fair. But for some odd reason, you folks think it's fair. Well, God got something waiting on you. God got something waiting on you, so just keep right at it. Keep right on running around here making titles, calling folks sick Negroes, and they want sick Negroes 6 months ago. And God know that better than you and I know it. So you're not fooling nobody but yourself and anyone that want to believe your lies. Because God know. God know you won't send Negro, and you won't put it in your title, and you won't put it on your profile, and you won't put it on your timeline. So don't just wake up and pretend to start using it now, because it's too late. It's too late. Because Donald Trump has got a bombshell coming your way. I am convinced that Donald Trump and the OMB and the Congress and the Senate are going to decide on African American for your title, for your identity block. I think that's what they're going to decide. I really do. So I think that's what Donald Trump is going to inform the OMB to put on the census report. And they're going to, I don't know if they're going to keep Black American there, but something in my gut, based on something that I came across about a month ago, that for the first time in my life, I've seen the heading African American on a form that I had to fill out. And Black was not there. It was beneath it. And then it was Jamaica and Haiti. For the first time in all my 62 years of filling out applications and forms, I had never seen the heading African American by itself. That was the first time. And it jumped out at me. And it came to me because Donald Trump says that he do not want anyone to grow up hating America. Donald Trump, before he took office, told the whole world, I do not want anyone to grow up hating America. Well, there's only 3 reasons why anyone would grow up hating America. The first being the genocide of the American Indian and Native American. The second reason being Negro slavery and genocide. And the third one being the genocide that America orchestrated around the world. Can anyone think of any other reason? Those are the top 3 that came to me. So Donald Trump is going to do everything in his power to erase that 246 years and insert the Germans and the Irish and the Asians and the Latinos. That's what they planning on doing. And they are going to remove the Negro history. And they are going to remove the Negro existence. They are going to remove the Negro ethnicity. They are going to remove the Negro birthright. And they are going to just insert the Germans, the Irish, the Asians, and the Latinos into that 246 years. And Negro slavery is going to disappear like it never happened. Because Donald Trump does not want his grandkids and great-grandkids to ever hear about Negro slavery. And you folks, you ungrateful human beings with melanin skin, y'all didn't fight to save it. You didn't fight to protect it. And now all of us are going to pay a price. When you show ungratefulness, it comes back to bite you. It comes back to bite you. You folks thought y'all was smooth sailing with this little fake Civil Rights Act of 1964. You thought you had smooth sailing with DEI. You thought you had smooth sailing with affirmative action. You thought you had smooth sailing with Civil Rights Act of 1964. You thought you had smooth sailing with DEI. You thought you had smooth sailing with your right to vote. You thought you had smooth sailing with affirmative action. But one thing you forgot. The Negroes came first. They carved out 246 years. They laid the foundation for all of us with melanin skin. And it wasn't important to you. It wasn't important for you to fight to protect it. Oh, it was more important for you to fight for Roe versus Wade. It was more important for you to fight for abortion. It was more important for you to fight for DEI. It was more important for you to fight for the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It was more important for you to fight for affirmative action. Not any of that would have been possible if the Negroes had not carved out 246 years. See what happens when you be ungrateful? When you are ungrateful, God is going to reward you. God is going to reward you when you show ungratefulness. Because all of us had the ability to fight for that, to protect it. But it didn't matter enough. It wasn't important. Oh, it's going to be important now. Y'all can't cry enough about DEI. I ain't never seen so many adults cry so hard for DEI and civil rights and affirmative action and Roe versus Wade. I ain't never in all my 62 years witnessed so many adults cry so hard. They never cried that hard for Negroes. Did you? Did you shed any tear? Did you open any Twitter space and cry over protecting Negro history on America's landmass? Did you ever spend one day of your life caring about it? Did you care about it? No, you didn't care about it, but you care about it now. You care about it now because you did not realize that's the only thing that gave any of us with brown and dark brown skin any slim protection on America's landmass. I can't talk about what kind of protection you may have in Jamaica or Haiti or Africa, but as long as your 2 feet is planted on America's landmass, that's the only thing that gave you an ounce of protection. And Donald Trump is busy erasing it. Donald Trump is busy erasing it. Because you folks care more about voting for the Democrat. You folks cared more about voting for the Republicans than you cared about that 246 years of Negro slavery. But you're going to start caring about it. You're going to start caring about it, and you're going to start thinking about it as things get worse and worse. You're going to start caring about why you didn't care to fight for it. Because you clearly had the internet to do your research. You can't claim that you don't know because you had the internet. The internet was invented before 2000. So you don't have since 2000 to do your research, so you can't claim that you're in the dark. You don't have since 2000 to do your research on the Negro ancestor history on this landmass and how it protected all of us with melanin skin. with brown and dark brown skin. But you folks didn't care about it. But you folks didn't care about you, Sandy B, and Nikki Barnes, and Heartbreaker D, and Antisocialite, and John Brown, and Scorpio, and Fahima. All you folks cry now. Y'all crying so hard. But you didn't cry when those persons in the ghetto and the projects in the hood got left behind. You cared about the middle class. You didn't care about that bottom foundation. But you care now. Because you losing jobs now. Now you starting to lose your job. So now you care. But you didn't care 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. You didn't care about those persons who had to keep making minimum wage. That the minimum wage did not change until 2008. It is at $7.25 in most states. But you're crying real hard now because those folks are losing their job. But you didn't cry when those persons had to make minimum wage decade after decade after decade. So don't cry now. Don't cry now because it's too late. It's too late. Excuse me. God give each one of us the ability to make choices. God give each human being the ability to make choices and to make correction. Folks don't care about something until it come to their door. Until they come to their doorstep. They don't care about it. Most people, let me correct myself. A lot of folks don't care about things until it come to their doorstep. All those folks who were benefiting from DEI and all those cushy jobs they had for the federal government, they didn't care about that person making minimum wage. The Congress and the Senate gave themselves a pay raise every year. Every year. Every single year. But that person on minimum wage didn't get a raise. They didn't get $1 increase. They didn't get $2 increase. They were working poor. They were homeless. They had to go to bed hungry. Folks didn't cry when all those folks in the military got put out. You know, they got given a pink slip. I was there when it happened. I was there, so I can give my personal testimony. Because who did you boycott got lucky and blessed that I was one of the 100 persons in my MOS that got approved for early out. Who did you boycott retired in 1995. I was 33 years old when they started handing out those pink slips. I was 33 years old when they gave those persons their pink slip and closed down all those military bases and told all those persons in their different MOSs that you got to go. You got to leave the military. We putting you out. It seems like that's a repeat of what is going on right now, don't it? Those persons that got those pink slips who had 10 years in the military, 12 years in the military in their career and had to take their walking papers. And they gave them service pay. I was very, very fortunate. I had enough years to qualify for early retirement. So I've been retired since 33 years old. That's how the Lord blessed me. My mother told me my record should speak for me. And when the lady called me, because I had a connection, and I called and talked to the very person who told me I was one of the 100 that got approved. And I knew 3 of the persons. Personally, I knew 3 out of that 100. She said, yo, you were approved for early out. I could have passed out. I had the phone in my hand and I could have passed out. But the Lord blessed me because my mother told me, let your record speak for you. And my record spoke for me that day. My mother's words came coming through that phone when that lady was talking to me. I heard every single word that my mother told me all my life. Let your record speak for yourself. Because that was the only thing that got me approved for early retirement. And here I am today. It's been 1995, 30 years. A whole 30 years. How fast time fly. How fast time fly. But all those persons that I looked in the face who got put out the military because they were drawing down the military. Now, all of these adults are running around here crying about folks losing their job and DEI. But I ain't never heard adults cry for folks making minimum wage who are working for it. I ain't never heard so many adults cry for that. Why is that? Why is that? Because folks had to know that the house of cards was going to crumble to the ground. If the foundation is weak, eventually those at the top in the middle class is going to start crumbling to the ground. And folks are too intelligent not to have figured that out. Long before the train wreck of Elon Musk and the Republicans and Donald Trump. This been coming for a very long time. This been coming for all that trickle-down economics, for all of that war on drugs, for that trickle economics that Reagan talked about, for all of that war on drugs for Joe Biden and Bill Clinton, and all those good folks who cared about, Barack Obama, that wiped out decades of wealth in 2008. And the oligarchy took over in 1981. And they've been in charge since 1981. That's been right over 40 years. Go do the research. It's not hidden. It's not a secret. I don't know why folks want to pretend like it's a secret. The oligarchy took over the government in 1981. And they've been in charge since 1981. And the other 2 times they were in charge, the first time was during Negro slavery. That was the first time America operated under the control of the oligarchy. The second time was during the Great Industrial Revolution. We all know about those 2 time periods in history. We know about Negro slavery, and we know about the Industrial Revolution. And then they took a little break, and they took back control in 1981. And it's a paper trail to prove it. But folks run around here with their head in the cloud, pretending like they vote count. They will preach from sun up to sundown that they little vote count and the oligarchy don't exist. And they convince a lot of other folks to buy into it too. I brought into it. I got the right to vote in 1980. I remember they came to my classroom in the 12th grade and knocked on the door and said, you're gonna get a chance to register to vote. We were sitting in our classroom in 12th grade. I'll never forget that day. I filled out that little piece of paper and I registered to vote. So the oligarchy took over in 1981. And folks clearly know the oligarchy did not go home on the 6th of November, 2024. They did not pack their suitcase and decide to go home. They still there. When you woke up on the 6th of November, they were there. When you woke up on the 7th of November, they were there. When you woke up on the 8th of November, they were there. When you woke up on the 9th of November, they were there. When you woke up on the 10th of November, they were still there. And they are still there today on the 25th of April, 2025. I don't know if they ever plan to go home and pack that suitcase. Because you folks don't want to boycott, they're going to stay there. What motivation do they have to leave? Do anyone have a guess as to what would motivate them to pack that suitcase and go home and stop erasing our so-called vote? Because you folks clearly don't want to boycott Twitter. You don't want to boycott Facebook. You don't want to boycott Instagram. You don't want to boycott Clubhouse. You don't want to boycott YouTube. You don't want to boycott TikTok. So that's the weapon that God gave all of us. And you're not using it. So whose fault is that? It looked like folks are starting to get a little bit motivated with this boycott thing. I've been preaching it for 3 years. Look like folks been talking real lot about Target boycott. Look like it had an impact. So why all of us, or as many of us persons with melanin skin, can't activate that same thing for our human rights, for our demands, for our justice, for our safety, for our protection? Why we can't do that? What's stopping us? What's stopping us from boycotting Twitter? Do anybody have an answer? What on God's green earth is stopping us from boycotting Twitter? Because we love Twitter so much. We love Twitter so much. But our children get to walk out the door in an unsafe environment while we sit on Twitter in our comfortable recliner with our phone in our hand. That child is going to elementary school that day. That child is walking out the door and going to middle school that day. That child is walking out the door and going to junior high school that day. And that child is walking out the door and going to high school, and they don't have any protection. Not 1 ounce. Because each of us adults clearly know that we're doing everything in our own power to navigate it day to day. So I don't know how we try to pretend that our children are safe each day they walk out that door. I don't know how we bury our head in the sand and sit on Twitter for hours and hours and hours and call each other nigger while they at school, and somebody more than likely going to call them a nigger. And they may have to lose their life or go to jail or be punished and pay a price. But you adults going to be on Twitter comfortably in your audio room talking and talking until you're blue in the face. When it will simply take organizing a boycott until it works. It simply take motivation to activate a boycott. If it starts with 5 people and then it grow to 10 people and then it grow to 20 people and then it grow to 50 people, whatever it takes to demand that America come to the table and negotiate our demands. Like everybody else get to walk in that room and sit down at the table and make their demand. Each person in our community deserves the same thing. And the only way that demand is going to be heard is a boycott. So, I don't know what you folks are waiting on. I clearly don't know what you're waiting on, but you're running out of time. Because every day that tick off that clock is giving those persons more time to get things in place. They are busy getting more and more things in place, and they are busy removing that little pretense of protection that each of us thought that have melanin skin. MELANIN. So we can stop pretending. We can all stop pretending that we ever going to get any semblance of protection or fairness in America. When Carmelo Anthony cannot sit down under a tent and not be threatened, why in God's name are any adult pretending that voting is going to fix that? That pretending to talk to pink people is going to fix that. No, talking to pink people is not going to do that. Rejecting any person that is not fighting for melanated human beings to be treated fairly, if they're not doing that, if they're not using their voice, if they're not using their platform, if they're not putting room titles up for that purpose, and they just using lip sync, and they just inviting you into their room to have a pleasant conversation, when you get done having that pleasant conversation, they're going to go home to their little comfortable house, and you and your child will not be safe in your house. Because they can show up at your house and intrude. They can enter your house anytime they feel like it. Like Breonna Taylor. But like, I try to pronounce her name right, Breonna Taylor. Just laying in her bed, and the policeman showed up and shot her dead. Or Sonia Macy, just in her home, feeling that she needed help, was picking up a pot of hot water and was gunned down like an animal. Just gunned down like an animal. And you folks still waking up. Jordan Neely, life was choked out of him, and the murderer walked out the courtroom. And Peter and Dana and Judge Joe Brown defend that. Now, adults are waking up trying to defend that Carmelo Anthony did not have the right for self-defense, for self-protection. What? How can you make that make sense? How can you open your mouth and try to make sense that two human beings are approaching one, and that's supposed to be fair, that one human being did not have the right to do everything in his ability to protect his life from bodily harm. Whether he was going to get punched in the face or punched in the head or thrown to the ground, that was his God-given right at that moment to protect himself. That's a built-in instinct that God gave each one of us. That even if one person was approaching Camilla Anthony, that he still had the right to protect himself and use whatever means necessary to protect himself. Because that's something that each one of us have a built-in instinct to do. Would that require a weapon? Sometimes it may. Will it require physical hands? Sometimes it may. Who knows at that moment? All you are thinking about is surviving. All you are thinking about is protecting yourself. You're not thinking about, well, do I do any, meeny, miny, mo? Which weapon should I use? Should I use my fist? Should I use my feet? Should I use my head? Should I look for a piece of wood on the ground? What choices do I have? No, you don't have time to go to that eeny, meeny, miny, mo of what choice that you're going to pick. Your natural instincts are going to kick in. A human natural instinct is going to kick in. I don't see how any adult can get on Twitter and try to make the case that Camilla Anthony wanted to cause that teenager's life. It's no way humanly possible that anyone with a honest bone in their body can make that claim. Now, how in God's name was Camilla Anthony going to have the ability to have a direct aim at Austin's heart? Because Austin wasn't standing still. Camilla Anthony wasn't standing still. They both were moving. They both were moving at the same time. So how can you claim that he deliberately stabbed Austin in the heart unless Austin was standing up and he had a direct aim? And we clearly know that Austin wasn't standing up and waiting on Camilla Anthony to have a direct aim at his heart. And seeing as we know that, why would any adult get on a public app and call for Camilla Anthony to be locked up for life, to be given a gas chamber, to be lynched? Because that unfaithful day, God decided what was the outcome. Not one of us human beings. That was God's choice. God decided to take Austin from this world. God decided to protect Camilla Anthony. Why? I don't know. And you don't know. But God knows. But God made that decision. And God give every human being the right to protect themselves. And God willing, Hunter and Austin could be sitting in their living room if that was God's will. And Camilla Anthony would not have had to spend one day in jail. And his life would not be threatened. And his family's life would not be threatened. But Camilla Anthony did not initiate this confrontation. And being fair and honest and decent, why are folks getting on a public app and blaming Camilla Anthony? Why are you doing that? It really shows a lot about individual human beings' character. And God have your name in the book. You were tested that day. All of us are constantly being tested. And God got each one of your names in the book. Don't lie to yourself and think that your name is not in that book. Judge Joe Brown, Dana, Peter, Cultivating, Tommy Sotomayor, Nicholas Parentes, and all those racist individuals that are spewing all those racist, I don't say the word hate, but all of those racist words, God got each one of your names in the book. God is going to protect Camilla Anthony. God is going to protect Camilla Anthony's family. Because God clearly knows the evil and terrorizing environment that America and the whole world is. God know that. So Camilla Anthony is in God's hands. Camilla Anthony's family is in God's hands. Because they will be threatened for the remaining days that they are on this earth. They will more than likely be threatened for the rest of their life. And you know why? Because the world has told and programmed folks to see persons with brown and dark brown skin as not a human being. America and the whole world, Russia, China, all the other nations around the world have been programmed that any person with brown or dark brown or melanin skin, they are not human beings. They are black. Don't ever see that person as a human being. You are to only see that person as black. So Camilla Anthony, myself, and my daughter, when I walk out the door, I am seen as a black person. But I don't see myself as black. So I have been able to navigate the world, the evil world that I live in for 62 years. There's been ups and downs, but a teenager is not equipped to deal with that at that point in life. They still have so many more years to grow and develop. But a 17-year-old may not be able to handle and fight that battle on any given day. It's hard enough for adults, but for any adult to be on a public app expecting that teenager to respond in just the perfect way, you just walk away. You just walk away. Well, you walk away that day, they're going to find you the next day. If you walk away that day, they're going to find you next week. If you walk away that day, they're going to find you next month. So that's not the answer. No. The answer is to be honest with yourself. Not one of us have the ability to change the world. Not one of us have the ability to change the world. This was decided in 1790, long before any of us were born, that America had shaped this environment. We can't change hundreds of years of an environment that has been shaped. We can't change that. But we can recognize the birthright that God gave each one of us. And God gave each one of us a birthright, a specific bloodline that was not spelled black. And we're doing a disservice and a harm to each other to keep on identifying the way the majority of society want to see us. That's not fair, and that's not our birthright. And it's certainly not fair to our children. Because every child is born into a specific bloodline. And that bloodline was not and is not spelled white or black. And we are too intelligent to keep on passing that harm down to the next generation. I don't know what Camilla Anthony's birthright is. I'm not going to claim that Camilla Anthony's birthright is black because of his skin color. I don't know his family tree. So I'm not going to make an assumption based on his skin color. I don't know which bloodline he belonged to. But that's Camilla Anthony's human right. That's his birthright to find that out for himself. But I don't get to tell him that he's black based on his skin color. I don't have the right to do that. God controls that. America don't control that. Russia don't control that. China don't control that. No, God control that. Not one of us human beings control that. And I don't have the right to tell Camilla Anthony that he's a young man. The teenager is 17 years old. He still has to turn 18 and 19. And Camilla Anthony have the right to enjoy being a 17-year-old and an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old before adults make him a young man and call him a young man. You or I don't have the right to rob him of that. No one robbed me of my teenager years. I got to be 13, I got to be 14, I got to be 15, I got to be 16, I got to be 17, I got to be 18, I got to be 19. And when I reached that age of adult, I got to grow into an adult. I didn't just magically become an adult. I had to grow into it. So Camilla Anthony don't deserve for adults to sit on Twitter and call him that young man deserve to go to jail for life. That young man didn't have the right to take Austin Metcalf's life. No, Camilla Anthony had the right to protect himself. It's that simple and cut and dry. And that's why a lot of folks are backstepping, because they clearly know they spoke too quickly, and they spoke biasly, and they spoke racistly. They spoke from a racist perspective, and they spoke from a biased perspective. They did not speak from a human perspective, because this should not have been difficult. It's a tragedy that a teenager had to lose his life. But it would have been a tragedy for Camilla Anthony to be beat up by one person or two persons. So I trust in the Heavenly Father that Carmelo Anthony will have a chance to continue and repair his life. However God chooses for that to turn out. I pray for that. And I pray for that for every person with brown and dark brown skin, because there's 1,000 and 2,000 Carmelo Anthonys every single day. There's too many to count. Every single day that we wake up, all around the world, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of Carmelo Anthonys who are being mistreated based on their skin. And God did not birth that child into this world to be judged by their skin. And each one of us have to make that clear. Every day we wake up, everything that we put in print. And if those around us don't want to respect that, then don't talk to them. And I guarantee you they'll change their tune. If all of those Caucasian spaces on Twitter don't want to respect that, don't go into their room. I guarantee you when you stop talking to them and you stop accepting their invite to their room, they're going to go back to their own people and say they don't even want to talk to us no more. They don't even want to engage in a conversation. And that's only fair. That's the fair response. Because our 50 million, 60 million population is never going to convince 300 million to make the self-correction. If they don't have the motivation to want to make that self-correction, you talking on Twitter for 365 days will not change that. You can sit on Twitter and talk for 365 days straight and you won't change any of those persons who cannot walk in your shoes. They have to motivate themselves to want to make that correction. And sitting on a Twitter social media app won't get it done. They got to sit down in their own living room, in their own kitchen, in their own backyard, and talk to each other and make that correction. Or not. If they don't make the correction, part ways. Because they have the same right that they feel to feel protected in their environment. Each one of us have that same right. And if we cannot receive that integrated, then we have to part ways. That's the adult thing to do. Why folks want to keep on pretending with this integration is madness. Because we clearly have separation already. Enough of the pretense integration. Don't you think it has lasted long enough? Don't you think 50 years is long enough? Don't you think our individual self and our children have been threatened long enough? For those who want to stay integrated, stay integrated. But for those who deserve to be separate, should be given that right. The same way the Jews are given that right. The same way the Caucasians are given that right with their gated communities and their private schools. Why do we have to be forced to be integrated when they don't hesitate to show proof of their separation? You can go into the JQ radio room on Twitter, and they're not going to let you come on stage and have a pleasant conversation. They're not going to do that. So why are you going to allow them to come to your Twitter space and have a pleasant conversation on your stage? You're not going to go into Patriot or MB Twitter space and they give you the same grace that they give their regulars that they feel connected with. Well, if you cannot receive equal treatment if you are in their space or they in your space, the only sensible thing is to part ways. Why keep on pretending that you want unity? Why keep on pretending that integration is a real thing when we simply know that folks have set up private communities, private schools, private clubs, all 50 states. We clearly know that's not a secret. We clearly know the Negro ancestors demanded that in 1865. That was the one specific thing, the one specific question that was asked to them directly. And they answered it. So go look at the transcript and read it for yourself. They had the wherewithal to predict that they knew they could never be safe amongst persons who had seen them as slaves. They knew it would be a danger. If they had enough wherewithal to know it in 1865, what do you think has changed to convince you that you or your children are safe in 2025? Did something happen before 1965 that convinced you of that while they were busy burning down the town? Did that convince you that you could be safe when they were flooding the towns of the Negro communities and burning them to the ground? Did that convince you between 1865 and 1965 while all of these persons who don't have melanin skin were burning Negro communities down from 1865 to 1965? Did that convince you that the environment was safe to integrate? Or maybe when they were busy flooding the towns for that 100 years? Or maybe when they were busy feeding the babies to alligators? Did that make you feel safe? So if it did not take place between 1865 and 1965, what has happened in the past 60 years to convince you that being integrated makes you safe or your child? Because I've been here for 62 years and I cannot think of anything in my 62 years that tell me that I'm convinced that the environment that I walk out into is safe. Now, I have told you folks since I came back to Fayetteville, I feel the safest that I can possibly be. I am surrounded by persons with my own skin color. I grew up here. So I'm safe as I can be in this racist environment, this discriminating environment, because I feel comfortable in the environment that I grew up in. When I was living in South Carolina, I didn't feel safe. I didn't know the environment. But I'm back home now. I'm back home where I grew up at. I'm at least 10 deep of nothing but persons with my skin color. I can't ask for more than that. Because I certainly know what it feels like to be in an environment that I'm outnumbered. The military gave me a good dose of that. I don't have to lie about that. I managed to navigate. When I was living in South Carolina, I didn't feel safe. I didn't know the environment. But I'm back home now. I'm back home where I grew up at. I'm at least 10 deep of nothing but persons with my skin color. I can't ask for more than that. Because I certainly know what it feels like to be in an environment that I'm outnumbered. The military gave me a good dose of that. I don't have to lie about that. I managed to navigate it, but I don't have to lie about it because all I had to do was look around me and know that I was outnumbered. But once again, my mother gave me the foundation to navigate that. My mother gave me the foundation to navigate that environment that put me at a disadvantage. But I still had the ability to work hard and let my reputation speak for itself. Let my work speak for itself. I didn't have to change who I was. I didn't have to sit down and pretend to have pleasant conversations with individuals who did not have my skin color. I didn't have to do that. I still got to be myself. I had to make adjustments, of course, but I did not have to pretend to want to have a pleasant conversation with anyone outside of my skin color. That's my right. That's my human right, and I made sure that I applied that every single day that I was in the military. I told persons, I specifically told them I did not want to talk to them. I didn't bite my tongue. I told them to their face they deserved that much. I felt they deserved it, and I told them. And they had to accept it. As long as I had the uniform on, I knew we had to work together. We had a job to get done, and we got the job done. We had to respect each other, and we respected each other. But when I took that uniform off, I didn't have to invite you to my home. I didn't have to go hang out with you. I didn't have to go to the club with you. I didn't have to go hang out and go to lunch with you. And I did not do any of that. And my life turned out fine. And my career turned out fine. It turned out so fine, the Lord blessed me to retire. But I was only able to operate that way because that's the way my mother explained it to me. That it don't make sense to keep on sitting down and having pleasant conversations with individuals who make up the collective that are benefiting from you being and I being mistreated in that environment because we are outnumbered. It don't make sense to keep on doing that. Because those individuals who know it's going on, they clearly know that America's environment has been unfair. They clearly know that. If they don't have the motivation, our little 50 million and 60 million will not get it done because we're outnumbered. And they know that. They know they have that advantage. And they tell you that and me that every day they wake up. They don't keep